Hello everyone and welcome to my playthrough of the Vampire Coast. I'll be playing as Luthor Harkon, which you guys all voted on, and this was provided in early access graciously by Creative Assembly.
The Vampire Coast is, and always will be, ours.
Now I went ahead
For
and...
we are the terror of the seas. We are the Pirate King.
Now you'll notice I skipped the intro cinematic and also the floating around the map of the vortex. I figure you can see that for yourselves. But basically the vampire pirates are a type of hybrid horde faction. The end-all goal here is to gather infamy and work your way up the pirate ladder to be the most infamous of all pirates. Now, as you'll notice, they give you a lot of quests right off the bat right there, and actually start you on the main quest, which is to take that little boat right there and get the Star Metal Harpoon. The big goal being to take out a giant sea monster, so you have a pretty fun objective in the world. Now, you're starting as Luthor Harkon is a little odd. You don't really have a whole lot as far as guys go. I went ahead and reinvested in his gunpowder units because the gunpowder units for Vampire Coast are just really ridiculous. I was a little underwhelmed by Luthor Harkon's starting position, not least because the starting units that they give him don't work very well. This is actually my second attempt at a playthrough with Luthor Harkon. I did one and then died on turn 12. I had a Wood Elf army show up, a Norska army show up, and hit me back to back, one after the other, and it pretty much just ended the game right there. The one thing I figured out is you need a good, strong front line to hold them in place while your gunpowder units do their work. So I went ahead and let Harkon, who has his own, he works like a mobile base basically, so all the main units can also be built on him, so wherever he goes, they kind of go with him. So trying to divide up in my mind what's going where. Now I definitely enjoyed the gunpowder in this game. Like I said, you're going to see just how powerful they are in this playthrough, and so I chose to double down on what this faction's good at and invest into additional gunpowder units and power. Gunnery. And nothing left to do but end the turn. Now I am playing on a solid state drive, but you'll notice not even thinking for that, it's a pretty fast end turn time. I was surprised at just how well this went. And that's the ladder I was talking about. So your infamy, you start off at the very, very bottom and you fight your way up. And these skulls on the right are the sea shanties you need to collect to unlock the final battle. So as you start killing people and looting and basically doing piratey things, you move your way up the pirate ladder, which I really like. I like the idea of working my way up and being the most ferocious pirate in the world. But with our additional zombie gunners, that's more than enough to take the first settlement and have a good, strong battle. Now, even then, though, no reason not to actually. Now, the problem with auto-resolving with Luthor Harkon's first army is you'll notice the bloated corpse that you had on the far left. The suicidal unit died right off the bat, which a bit of an issue because that's what I was saying, the weakness of his starting army. You have Morngulls, which are a good heavy hitter. You have Deck Droppers, which are a type of skirmisher flying unit. And then these bloated corpses, which, I mean, they're a powerful unit, but you're facing other Vampire Coast armies at the beginning here with trash tier, and they're one shot only, so it's not like you can use them multiple times. I mean, they're fun to play with, but I'm not really sure they're a great unit to give a guy to start with, so hope CA kind of reconsiders that. You can't really... They don't give you that powerful boost necessary. They're not like the Vargulf for the vampire counts, or a unit of great swords, or even with any of the Bretonian factions getting some really awesome cavalry right there to start with. They're all like tier 2, except for the Morngulls, which are tier 3 units there. So as powerful as they are and fun as they are to play with, they just don't really have the impact you're looking for a lasting campaign. Now, I am trying out a slightly different strategy. I picked this up off Reddit, where you basically just put just enough infantry ahead of your gunners that they can shoot around them. So unlike in previous Total War games, where your whole unit had to have line of sight, in this one, just the front of the ranged unit has to have line of sight, and everybody actually fires through. It's much more like a Warhammer tabletop, so it's not like where, you know, longbowmen in traditional other games where suddenly the people from the front are having to arc or anything like that. You'll see in a minute here what I'm talking about if you don't play this game regularly. My favorite quality of life feature, though, coming back from playing Rome 2 and Rise of the Republic, is holding down the control button so I can actually draw the path of the units. So I didn't realize how much I used that till it was not there. Trying to be sneaky with my Morghuls there. You'll see the deck droppers over on the left already taking fire. Let Harkon go in, start doing his thing. Surprisingly tanky. He's definitely not indestructible. Like I said in the previous game, he eventually got chewed up pretty good. I find he doesn't put down as much damage as I would hope, at least in the early game. I'm sure later on he becomes a lot more powerful. But what I am impressed with is the zombie pirate gunners you're going to see here in a second. When they actually start to open up, my goodness, just the amount of damage they do. You'll see I'll start to focus fire the enemy deck droppers in a couple moments here. So, I mean, compared to the other enemy army, I mean, this is a Harkon starting army, and it's almost a balanced fight as is. So, like I was saying, where except for the Morghuls there, it's just not that great of an opening starting roster. Jeez, look at that melt. That's the really fun part of this game. If you like gunpowder units, this is your faction. I started investing in cannons shortly after this, which you'll see in a minute here. This is just so much darn fun to see all those bullets flying through the air. Now, my first campaign, I definitely screwed up because you do have to have some zombie deckhands to hold the line. They're going to die, as with all vampire factions. All these zombies are basically expendable. You shouldn't worry too much about them, but, you know, don't feel bad when you have to recruit new ones every turn. Now, you'll notice I'm not sending my bloated corpse in because, frankly, this is an opening battle. I really don't want to waste him right off the bat. That's something I did in my last game. They're typically good for 150, maybe 200 kills, depending on how quickly you landed in there. Literally zombies hanging from bats. It's super cool animations there. Get the zombies to shamble into position. They're very, very slow. That is the one thing I'll say about Vampire Coast is they feel slow when they're moving. Repositioning. These aren't your fleet wood elves, which are constantly skirmishing, moving all over the place. It's almost like Napoleonic line infantry in a way, where it's make the line, point them at where they're supposed to go at, and they'll let off a couple volleys. And anything that's still standing, well, they'll shoot again. And boom, just like that, decisive battle. And you'll notice on the left there just how much damage those zombie gunners are doing. Just a tremendous amount being put down. Although, yeah, the Morghuls are really the hero, the one doing the most for me right there.
The Pirate King only knows victory!
Now, I actually wanted to establish a pirate cove, but I have a quest to take over the entire Vampire Coast as Harkon, so, you know, I'm going to have to do it eventually anyway. But I really want to get into the Pirate Cove faction. The idea is that you set up a Pirate Cove, and it permanently siphons off that faction. The main city exists, but your Pirate Cove exists at the same time. So it's basically maintenance-free, constant income, which I love the idea of. So as soon as I can, I'm going to get onto my boat and go out to sea and start setting up these little siphon colonies all over the place. Now, Harkon is a vampire, and man, goodness knows they do well with that regeneration. It keeps them in the fight longer, so I like to go down and get those specialist skills as soon as possible. For this particular playthrough, my goal is to take over all of Vampire Coast, which I'm going to do, because I've already done this, obviously. And at the end of it, we'll kind of stop there. You'll notice that all of your missions are being issued by Symbols, the monkey, which I just find absolutely hilarious. That your first mate, the monkey, is giving you your quest for the game. There's a lot of flavor for this expansion. If you've seen Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously this is as Pirates of the Caribbean as they can get without getting into copyright infringement. Personally, I've never been a huge fan of pirates, but this is the first game that's really kind of changing my mind. The idea of sailing the seas and getting scurvy never really appealed to me, but, you know, to each their own. In this particular case, though, they make it seem like a lot of fun. Because they're undead, they don't really have to worry about all that. Go ahead and invest into... Ooh, yep, let's get some animated hulks, monstrous infantry, anti-infantry, and bloated corpses. They are a lot of fun to use, and if I can make them at will, I think that's going to be the way to go. But a little bit extra money at the start is always a good idea, so let's just go for that for right now, short term versus long. Go ahead and be getting up to that next level of gunnery because they're stinking useful. Archons Campaign is a little different because, as it says, they want you to improve your vampire holds. Versus the other factions seem to be wanting you to go around and kind of pillage the seas. His seems to be much more about kind of establishing a permanent base and colony before they really turn you loose. Now, I do like that in the Vortex campaign here, your ultimate objective is just to kill the giant fish thing. So there's no land requirement or things like that. It's literally just get the pieces together, get the sea shanties, beat the other pirates, and then go from there. Now, how you go about that is entirely up to you. Now, in Mortal Empires, he has to take over, my understanding is pretty much the entirety of Lustria, which is a really big thing to require people to have to do. And also, I think, like, hold 9 capitals. It's a rather hefty requirement. So in this case, this is a lot more directed and fun.
Against the code.
Oof. Yeah, they're a little bit better equipped than I would like to face with my trash tier army. So we're going to let them come to us, especially considering they're fortified right there. I'm still liking all that gunpowder, so let's double down on what makes them good. I'm going to go steadier aim, and we ended up picking up Master Gunner here, which you're going to see gives an even higher boost than steadier aim. But a lot of options as far as making everything hit a little harder. Now, it's weird to actually buff your trash tier, but at the beginning of the game, it's just so useful. Honestly, they're doing so much damage that I'd be surprised if they weren't still doing hefty amounts even in mid-game. Let's see, missions. I forgot to dig. Yep, we'll have to go back to the Pox Marsh after this in a second anyway. So that's a new feature for the Vampire Counts. They give you these riddles, and you go and you change your movement mode to dig, sort of like in camp. As an archaeologist, I love the idea of that. Alrighty, let them come to us. As I previously said, I actually fought this battle in a previous campaign before I failed out, and I won, but they came to the right the first time. Now this time they're going to come to the left choke point. Because the AI actually does make different decisions. I was kind of surprised by that. Now, rather than showing you the whole setup phase, I'm just going to jump to the part where it's actually put together, because getting these guys in position is a bit of a pain. You'll notice I gave gaps between my major units so the gunners can shoot between them. Thankfully, there's a bit of a primer on Reddit that kind of showed me that trick. It's a little gamey, but hey, it's a game. What are you going to do? Go ahead and let him have double, triple speed. I had him spaced out here at the beginning because I didn't know if they were going to come to the left or right, so I kind of had to cover both my bases. And I do find it kind of odd that the AI seems to commit to one path or the other. It doesn't really have any flanking movement motions. But then again, that's not really what the Vampire Counts are about. There's not a whole lot of fast flanking characters. Get everybody in position. God, they're just so slow. I mean, they're rotting hulks of flesh, so I mean, you know, surprise. Get him over there. Put one unit on the right, just in case if somebody decides to do something tricky. That way we can hold them in place until my gunners come to bear. Try and get my gunners uphill, just enough so we can shoot downhill and get good vision. And fast forward because they're taking too long to get to me. Jeez Louise. Stupid zombies are slow. And here we go. First thing we're going to do is open up on those bats because we definitely don't want them pestering our back line. And yet again, I'm shocked at just how quickly those gunners melt things. Look at it. You can actually watch the bar go down. That is amazing. Now, there are 2 bloated corpses in the enemy army. You can see the stars off on the right-hand side on their... on the left-hand side of their army. So, the right-hand side, sorry. You gotta watch out for those. Already, those flying units are completely gone. I'm sending my guys in because they're not coming to me, so let's go ahead and try and force it down this little narrow path here. Now, I made a big mistake by doing this, and I will admit that, because I squeezed my guys in that also blocked off line of sight from my gunners. So in this case, I have gunners trying to fire through gunners or into the backs of my own guys. So instead of having, 6 units of gunners I can bring to bear, I have 2. So you'll see how they're firing right there, and only the ones in the center are actually making contact. Got a gunner, or a big boomer coming around on the right-hand side. If you played Left 4 Dead 2, the giant exploding corpses are basically boomers. You get the reference there. So definitely try and get my deck droppers to whittle that guy down to keep him from taking out my infantry. Because one boom should take out an entire unit by itself. Commit the Mongols. Yep, whew, definitely they're pecking away at him, but not dying nearly fast enough. We do not want him to reach our guys. So we'll bring my own gunners to bear here to try and get a hold of him. And then I remember, hey, I have my own. So let's send him in there and do what he is made to do. We just go kaboom. Yeah, already you'll see we have some routing issues on the left. But like I said, not my best setup on that by deciding to charge in to hold him in place. Whew. But thankfully you can whittle those guys down pretty quick. It's also a problem I'm about to face, is how do I get my guy in there to actually stuff it.
Captain!
Trying to get my guys in position so they're actually firing, so yet again run into the issue where they're not quite lining up to get a clear line of sight there. Problem with those narrow spaces. So we're trying to start attacking the back line, anything to keep them occupied. Wolf crumble. Now it becomes something of a slog. Just whittling them down with those gunfire, trying to get them to bear. Because we only have one unit actually firing right now, so it's time to reconfigure and make it so they will hit. Start trying to take out the enemy lord. See what I mean about having zombie deck hands to hold that line, keep them in place, because your guys are so slow that they can't skirmish. If they go in to start backing away to skirmish, they're overrun by even the most basic of infantry, so you can't really keep ahead of them and shoot backwards like the Wood Elves can. But when they actually do come to bear, oof, look at that salvo going off, just draining the health of the enemy. Cannot make these guys fire. Not my proudest moment. But this guy can do jack all as I fly over top of him and keep pelting him away. It's so funny watching this again now. The Napoleonic Warfare comparison is really apt. These guys are super slow, but when they actually get in position, they just do so much damage. Even the cannons that come in, they have a cannonade and mortars, which again are basically Napoleonic style units. They don't come with cavalry, but they do come with giant monstrous crabs, which work roughly the same way. So I look forward to playing with those pretty soon. Oof. Anything to try and open this up here. Yep, alright, this isn't working. I'm gonna have to reconfigure here. These guys are shooting, but not doing nearly enough. Hate to move the only unit that's actually firing and putting on it. deckhands are starting to desert, so I've got to get somebody around there fast. Or it's going to be a chain route, because once my front line goes, my back line is going to crumble right behind it. Like I said, they cannot skirmish.
We serve.
Relatively short range with the pistol version. There is an upgraded handgun version, which gives additional range at the cost of melee attack, which you'll notice these guys aren't going into melee anyway. I mean, these aren't like Lock and Spear Guard or anything for the high elves. They're not in any stretch of the imagination dual purpose.
Luthor Harkon!
It's got to hold a little while longer. You'll notice Harkon hasn't even taken any damage at all at this point.
I'm going in!
And also, you know, he's killing. It's just not like... I guess I'm so used to things like Rodent or Iron Hivers running in there with a giant axe and seeing everyone cleaving around him, some sort of big splash effect. Just really... I'm sure he's shooting people, but it's not making very much of a visual impact here. But no, obviously, he's doing something. Out of units, so use them like flying cavalry. Why not? Anything to make it happen. So they're starting to smush together. If they're smushed together, that means they're going to reconfigure my guys to take advantage of that, because they're starting to whittle down as well. And looks like I won the fight on the left flank, so moving around behind and open up. Reposition those lines. Show what the zombie gunners can do. I think this is going to be a faction that is going to be pretty heavily played in the multiplayer scene. They're just a lot of darn fun. And also play very differently, because like I said, a heavy emphasis on gunpowder, with obviously monsters to support in the middle there, so it's a lot of fun. Very different kind of style. At this point, my guys finish swinging around from behind there, and it's just a matter of time before they're just completely wiped out. You notice the unit right in the center, how quickly they melt under concentrated gunfire. Turn around about the face, have everybody focus on that Lord, and watch him melt. That's what's just so satisfying about these guys. You know, Pyrrhic victory, but they're vampires. It doesn't particularly matter. All these guys are trashed here, and I can literally recruit the entire army again next turn. It's a bit of a weird psyche thing for me. For the most part, I'm really attached to my units, so I don't like to think of them as expendable, but I mean, it even has them labeled as meat shield. Share the loot. Less infamy, because real pirates don't share.
There is no stopping me.
There we go. New issue. Complete quest for slaying gold. Build a particular passive ability. Pigeon Plucker Pendant. Fun. Oh, well, this is where Harkon's different personalities start to come in. So now it's the narcissist, and you can see the buffs that come with that, and also the detractions. About every 5 turns it switches up, so he has completely different buffs every time. Maintaining control of one province. This is what I was saying before. They definitely try and encourage you to stay inland initially with Harkon, which is a shame because it's a game based around pirate and high seas stuff. His buff versus army buffs. We definitely were dying kind of quick there, so let's put it into that melee defense so that we can bolster that front line. Doesn't matter how strong he is, it's the army that wins the fight. Unless it's, you know, techless. One of the high elf guys with the Sword of Cain. They just waste entire armies.
A mass murder is due.
Let's circle for a second here. Didn't expect them to actually have that much resistance, so let's just back away, raise a couple guys, and come back, which is one of the really fun things about being a horde. You can recruit guys wherever you are, and this includes in enemy territory. So one of the cool things about being your own walking army recruitment. Never really played a lot of hordes. You know, this includes Attila. Obviously, big hordes there. Beastmen. I haven't ever actually played a Beastman campaign. I don't think so. This is a bit new for me. The concept that the army goes where you are is pretty fun. but definitely requires you to keep moving and keep attacking. But making them a hybrid like this, if you don't want to go down that path, you still have a strong base behind you to support you. You can play them more traditionally. Much better odds. Now, I don't really want this, so raise and get myself some pirate infamy. You'll notice I just increased in rank. I'm now 13th. And finish a nice little ward there.
Curse my crowded psyche.
Didn't even cost me too much, although the Mornghuls are wiped out. Like I said, the starting units they give him right there just don't pack as much punch as you would hope they would. Different things, boosting resistance, boosting attack. Considering I don't have access to any of those guys yet, let's just boost what we do have, which is basic zombies. Now, as I did just take that settlement, turn has passed, and I can go in and search the ruins, which brings up this, which is the new mini-game. And it's kind of a riddle every time, and it says here, solitude is always desired. So, I will admit to you, I never quite figured all this out. I thought, okay, solitude, so I guess the only one available. So it's not the one in the center, which would be a circle. That's not one of the 4 options down there. So there's only one purple guy. I figure let's click the purple. There's only one, that makes sense. Because you'll see the other options don't seem to be very forthcoming. But the puzzle failed. So if you guys know how to solve that one, I would definitely appreciate any kind of hints. Because when I read through it, that was my best guess. I do actually get one right eventually, but it was completely coincidental. New turn and a new mission. They want me to make peace with Count Noctilus, the Dreadfort, sign a non-aggression pact, which is going to be far easier said than done. Turns out, pirates don't particularly like to work together. Surprise! Alright, we're moving back to the Pox Marsh, because as we said, we have a pirate riddle up there that wants us to be solved. So, we're going to open our diplomacy, try and talk to the Dread Fleet. Turns out, they have no interest whatsoever in non-aggression pacts. So, that makes it one of those missions that's probably just going to disappear. And in fact, it turns out everybody hates pirates. Surprise. Going around the world and plundering cities is not a great way of making friends. But that's alright. Because in this game, ER is a pirate's life for me.
Move those bones.
So we move back into the Pox Marsh, put our stance over to digging for treasure, and because our treasure map told us to go there, we get an instant reward. That's pretty stinking fun. Now I assume the later ones are going to be a little more difficult to figure out. We unlocked a new right, Sea Mist, which causes attrition and gives Vanguard deployment. Pretty stinking cool. So I assume the later quests are going to be a little bit harder to solve and may take you to the far corners of the map, so gotta be a little better about figuring that out. Now we're going to add some mortars to our campaign here and really start bringing that firepower to bear. Backline cannonage. So the Awakening has Vampire Coast has 2 other settlements, Blood Swamps and Star Tower. So our objectives lie to the south. Get a little dilemma come up. We can either get a gunnery right, which is another ranged individual, or a Morngul Hunter, which is a heavy hitting guy. And as my front line is still weak, I say let's go with the heavy hitting guy who can take some damage. Because after all, we already have Harkon to do that long range shooting that the gunnery white hero would do. Successfully carry out a hero action. Easy. Just send him down to the south here to the Blood Swamp and search the ruins. And that counts as a hero action. Only to be greeted with another puzzle. Okay. So, they'll want the alignment is all, so they want it to align. That makes sense. So if it's anything like Skyrim, this is a rotation puzzle. So I figured look for symbols that match and try and figure out the rotation. So the one on the far right, if you start in the bottom right hand corner with the yellow, then you rotate up to the teeth. It aligns with the next tier in. And then if you go to the next symbol over, it lines all the way in. Yeah, that makes... Nope, that didn't make sense. Okay, another failed puzzle, so if you figure that one out, feel free to tell me what I did wrong there as well, because yet again, not quite sure how the alignment puzzle works. I promise you I get one of these right eventually. It's the third one that I finally figure out, but they're very different, each one of them. Now this guy becomes a merciless beast. Give him the killing cold, melee defense, and frostbite attacks. That's exactly the kind of guy I need in my army. So let's move him up to the main force there. Which I managed to do basically just in the nick of time, because there's a marauding lizard man army up to the north who want to come out to play. Which, since Harkon gets additional leadership bonus against Lizardmen, should work out in my favor. Ooh, settlement battle. Hey, let's whittle them down while we can. They're slightly weakened because they are in vampire count territory. They're having to fight the attrition. So let's see what just a basic guard unit can do. Alright, after getting in the position that I wanted them, they're now coming directly down the pipe. I got my melee in the front to hold the sources. I got melee on each wing in case they try and flank. And in the meantime, we'll just lay down some serious firepower. So you see what I was talking about? They can fire all the way from the very back rank all the way to the front rank. All they have to have is the front people having line of sight. Actually like this formation decently well. Let's go ahead and turn them in to make sure they're facing the right way here. Man alive. So many sources. That's what I was saying about Harkon's starting position. You know, they make it sound like it's normal, but I mean, you're fighting a lot of very heavy, very meaty guys right at the start there. Move this little slightly to the flanks, start opening up onto those guys if we can. And they're already using their more superior numbers and faster movement to get around behind me. Jeez. But you can turn the guns around, start drilling into them. You'll notice the stat are dropping pretty quick. Back the guns up a little. We don't want to fight, we want to shoot. But surprise, turns out that trash tier guys can't really hold top tier dinosaurs. Well, even medium and bottom tier dinosaurs. So despite their level best of firing away and shooting like madmen and racking up some serious kills, they will not be able to hold the army by themselves. But it's a decisive defeat. But you can see just how many guys they managed to put down just on their own right there. Not bad considering. So now it's a matter of taking that city back. Elmanar rises. Hey, here's that giant squid creature. Sea creature I was talking about. Apparently he is their version of typhoons in this one. I mean, it's kind of fun. They're constantly referencing the guys as this giant marinary force. Aquatic. Marine. I don't know. Poseidon. I don't know if aquatic words. So let's bring our actual army into this fight, see how we do. Put these mortars to use for the first time, and our spectral hero with cold attacks. After getting everybody set up in a roughly similar formation from the time before, it's time to open up and see what those mortars can do. So any group of units that I see huddled together is going to become high priority target number 1. Also have a unit of scurvy dogs, which I tried to hide in the forest. That didn't work out. Skink cohorts immediately overran them. So let's see if we can use some light flanking cavalry, though I realize they're not nearly as powerful. Anything is better than nothing. Never particularly found a use for the dire wolves or their equivalent fodder on the Vampire Accounts campaign either. I mean, I know they're good for chasing down fleeing enemies and like holding people in place, but as far as finishing them off goes, they're just never quite been useful. Let's bring the guns to bear.
Above deck.
Put them on skirmish mode, and they don't have to be fast so long as they have a lot of guns. Let those mortars come down. Boom! Jeez Louise, those 2 units in the back line both just instantly surrendered after those shots hit. Unfortunately, the skinks are getting around and the better of me, so let's try and move our deck droppers around to intercept them. We need to get those guns behind the enemies and start whittling them away. Jeez, those mortars do great work. Need to realign them so they're not shooting retreating guys, though. The skinks are harassing my mortar, which I don't want. I need to be hitting. Right, there's a big group of guys.
Always
Come on, hit right over there. First, I have to get these other guys off of them. Stupid skinks. Like I said, that speed becomes an issue. Now, one of the problems with Harkon, or one of the pluses depending on how you look at it, is he has no access to Wings of Magic, so that means no buffing abilities or any kind of thing like that. Instead, he gets a resistance to it, and his entire army does as well, which is quite fun. But in situations like this, we really need a gust or a blast or foot, basically anything to try and make it happen would be super useful. Finally get that mortar back online. Bring those guns to bear, full force. You'll notice as soon as you get them in a flanking position at all, they just start to eat away at whatever's there. So all your deckhands have to do is hold that main line until you can get those guns in position. Now, I did have some bomber guys for the first time, so I figured I'd try out some zombie deckhand variants that have grenades, which, geez Louise, they actually do what they're supposed to. Really just waylay the heck out of folks. So that's the bomber variant, which I'll definitely be kicking up some more of those. I guess they're sort of the equivalent of grenadiers from the old Napoleon game.
Gunnery mob, powder wet, kill! Gunnery mob.
Man, you'll notice just their whole army is starting to slowly give way to unrelenting gunpowder and firepower. And that's how the enemy army crumbles. Get them in a bind and just keep shooting them until they give up. So yet again, the real heroes here are going to be the gunners, and those 2 mortars together just did crazy damage. Now the 2 heroes obviously doing most of the bulk of the work. Our front line completely non-existent now. They've been basically wiped from existence, but hey, that's what they're there to do, is hold them while the guns get in place.
The vampire coast prevails.
Now, as I already have this place and I want to try and establish a permanent colony, I'm going to have to just occupy.
Devastation.
Although I would very much like to just make it a cove and not have to worry about it. They seem like they really want me to take this first opening area. Ooh, causes terror? Yes, please. As for our Mongol Hunter, let's give him a bonus versus infantry, since that's basically what he's fighting anyway. Now that's secure, let's move this army south. But first, since we have the ability to raise dead from an amazing battlefield, ooh, got some good blooded corpses there. I can replenish my army using the existing battlefield, which is a nice holdover because of the vampire coast. You get the vampire count's ability to do this, which is stinking useful at the beginning here. Instead of having to completely rebuild an army, just pick up pieces and move on. And despite my best abilities here, the Dread Fleet just does not want to agree to a non-aggression pact. Not even if you bribe them. Like,
This is beneath.
okay, like, forget it. I want to be friends with you guys anyway. Come on. Seriously, accept this. Like really?
This is futile.
Okay, yeah, forget this. Since we have so much money anyway, I'll just start a new army. Which you can... Oh, that's interesting. So, the new Vampire Coast guys actually have loyalty. And their loyalty score, very similar to Thrones of Britannia, requires them to actually be doing something. So they gain loyalty based on different things. So lightning strike battles, defeating enemy armies, gain loyalty from sacking, gain loyalty from constructing pirate coves, ambush and lightning. Yeah, I definitely like the one just fighting the best. Probably the easiest to make loyal if I had to guess. And we'll take advantage of that battlefield and loot it for everything it's worth as far as corpses go. Raise. And after having taken the Blood Swans with Harkon, we'll now move in and colonize the last remaining area, which is the Star Tower. Have to go in, and apparently can't colonize it yet, we don't have enough money, so we can just search the ruins. And there's another Slan puzzle. Oh, there's a puzzle. Dice has 6 faces. May the faces keep them rolling high, especially if you're making a ward save. So I guess they want me to know what the highest number is. Now, I should point out I have a background in archaeology, and that has not helped at all on this, even though we had to study symbols and symbolism. So that symbol is the highest stacked up in the picture. That's a really dumb way of doing this, but let's click it and see what happens. And I succeeded. I have no idea how that succeeded. I really do not think it means click the one highest in the picture. You know what? I'm sure there's a logic behind those puzzles. I just don't know what it is. Maybe it really is. Just look at the picture, which is the one highest up in the picture. That was wacky. But it gives us enough money, we can colonize, and we now own an entire province. The Vampire Coast now belongs to the king of the vampires. Pirate King. There you go. Okay, we got ourselves a good hard starting base. So we will stick them on, looks like, Dredge the Sea. That probably has the best benefit for us right now. Yep, Dredge the Sea it'll be. Stick it over to that, and that will be the end of our first part of our playthrough. And our next one, as far as I'm concerned, bugger the dinosaurs, we're heading out to the great unknown of the ocean. Let's go establish some pirate coves, and now that we have a strong base, bring our terror to the seas. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Like I said, this is Curse of the Vampire Coast, DLC for Total War Warhammer 2, which comes out next Thursday, the 8th of November 2018. Check it out, and I'll make sure to provide a link to below to either the Steam page or possibly Fanatical if you want to buy it for a discount and maybe support the channel. So, anywho, hope you have a nice night. Thanks for watching.